Hi there, my name is Belinda Doveston. Welcome to the I Ching Cafe and this week's overview for the week commencing the 29th of June 2020. Last week we had an interesting week. We were focusing on the long-term development processes that we were there to focus on and unpack and work with. And we heard about the story of the wild goose flying its way from the sea to the mountaintops, and a wonderful symbol of success created for others, and of course big cycles of completion. So how did last week go? What were you aware of in terms of things ending and having a feeling that just things are done, a sense of completion and endingness about some aspect of your life or your business? So let's have a look at this week. So we dip out of June 2020 and into July for this week's overview. And our first hexagram or state of change or focus of development for this week is Hexagram 25, called Innocence. Now, don't let this innocent title fool you as to what this state of change and focus is for this week. Innocence is the story of disentangling, of unbundling ourselves from the complexities and the contortions of our minds and our emotions that tie us up in this ball of string. And so this week we are being called to pay attention to the areas of our thinking and our feeling and our living, whether it's the business life, whether it's a personal life, wherever it might be for you, that have trussed us up like a roast chicken and prevent us from acting spontaneously when the time comes. Let's think about an innocent child. An innocent child looks at life and takes everything that comes in as it is. There isn't this kind of contorted thinking of trying to control and manipulate the outcome. We just look at the world through the eyes of an innocent child and we see the world as it is. And because we can do that, we can handle the unexpected things that come into our life with grace and dignity because we are doing it that way. It's just another data point that comes in, right? What tends to happen is we tend to want to control and create complexity where no complexity is required. It's just how we roll as humans. We have to kind of unbundle this pattern of trying to do the opposite of what an innocent child does. Make it complex. So this week, and the changing lines bring us some very specific things to pay attention to. This week, we have to look at our business and our teams and our personal lives and say, what is the one or two areas of my life, my working experience, where there's complexity and where there's complicated entanglements, emotional and mental entanglements. What we look for is this idea of trying to control something. And of course, the unexpected and innocent spontaneity is the total opposite of where we try to control something. The thing about control is that it usually does create a lot of stress, because what you're essentially doing is you're holding in place all these tendrils and processes of energy that are all interconnected with each other, and it tends to create a lot of stress and entanglement of our energy. One of the great things is if you're feeling strung up and you're feeling trussed up like that roast chicken, is to clear things off and close things off and make things simple. And this week we've been called to do that. There are two changing lines this week, one in the third position and one in the sixth position. So the line in the third position is saying a disaster has unexpectedly arisen in our situation. If we stay with where we were, we face a challenge to this disaster. If we move to where we need to go to, we can get over this disaster. So the story of this changing line is you've got some cattle tethered to a pole. Just imagine that, or maybe it's a horse. Got a horse stabled or tethered outside the saloon, right? While you're in the saloon, someone comes along and undoes that rope and goes off with the horse. If you stay in the saloon, if you stay in the capital or in the city, in the old place, or the place that's very structured and old and your old past, you lose the horse. But if you move with the horse, if you move with the energy, you leave the saloon and you go to a new place, you move with the horse. So it's a very simplistic way of explaining this idea that something unexpected comes, a loss of some kind comes into our lives this week. Now, I affirm for you, this is not a grave loss or a very difficult or challenging loss. Maybe it's something like your favorite computer dies or something like that. But a loss comes into our life. If we stay where we are and we stay in mourning and we stay in the old way of being this week, we face the impact of that loss. If we move with it, you face the benefit of the loss. The choice is up to you. Either way, keep your eyes open for an unexpected loss where you feel like something that was precious to you has now gone away. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's perhaps having something that's precious to you stolen, it could be a variety of different things that we are being called to pay attention to this week. And maybe it's just one little thing, and maybe it's a couple of things. Just have your feelers open. The point of this channel, and the point of going through these weekly overviews, is to prime your thinking for the week. Okay, it's not to control your thinking, it's to prime your thinking. So when you see the pattern playing out for you in the week, you can say, oh, okay, this pattern is familiar because I heard about it on Sunday or Monday. I'm ready for the week, and when I see it, I'm like, oh, I spot it. I understand what that is. I understand I've got to move with the moving people and not stay at the capital. I get it. I see it. And that allows you to move with the flow of change much more effectively. That's what we're doing here. Just priming the pipe, getting our thinking ready for the week or the month ahead. Our second changing line is in the 6th position, and this talks about the completion of the disentanglement. Okay, so there's been a process through the week of disentangling from something, of unbundling your energy from complexity and from a whole lot of processes that have tied us right into that ball of string. But it's not yet time to go rah and to launch into the future. So there's a sense here that in this week is being aware of where the disentanglement happens, okay, where the ending and the disentanglement process happens, where we are liberated from the complexity, but just being in that space, not trying to rush out of that space too soon. So I feel like there's a very strong energy here of us all having the opportunity to be liberated from something that's been overly complex and overly weighty. If we seize the day and move with it and not stay where we were, right? Staying at the capital or in the saloon. And then our outcome hexagram for this week is hexagram 49, revolution. Here it is again. So the second phase of change, the second flow of development, of focus of change is right back to 49, revolution. Now, what I find absolutely fascinating about this process of doing the dailies, the weekly, the monthly, the annual processes is the cycles of change that keep on repeating themselves, the layers. And maybe you don't see that because you don't see the daily ones as well every day if you don't follow them, to see the patterns of change that are all interconnected. So for revolution, for this hexagram, the process of change is about overthrowing the old and jumping into the new. Okay, and go and look at June's overview where I get really into this idea of revolution. And we've had this hexagram so much over the last few months. What's really important that I really wanted to convey to you is this idea of interconnected patterns. So what I often find with the dailies is that the Sunday daily hexagram is connected to the weekly hexagrams. And here we have the weekly hexagram, the last flow of change for June, being 49 revolution, being a key hexagram for the whole month of June. Plus, if you remember, if you have watched it, I did an overview for 2020. And the first half of 2020 was the hexagram 25, the unexpected or innocence, like we've had this week. So here we have, in the last week of June, which is the culmination point of hexagram 25 of innocence in our annual overview, being the end of the 6-month cycle. Like, you can't make this stuff up. It's really fascinating how we are working in cycles within cycles within cycles. Maybe there's randomness, but somehow there's some flow of perfection in all these things that we are going through. And we also have in our annual overview, and I really encourage you to go and watch it, is the same changing line 6. And changing line 6, as we wrap up this weekly overview with 25 Innocence and 49 Revolution, is all about, no matter what you think you're going to do, what your mind is cultivating as a controlling push forward, anything you try and do will get undone. That's this changing line for this week as well, tied to the same timing of the changing line from the year review. Amazing. And the thing about the annual review, and I know I'm spending a lot more time talking about the interconnectedness of these things rather than really deep diving into Revolution, which you can go and catch up in past episodes. So in our annual overview, the first 6 months of the year have this dominant transformation of 25 Innocence, the unexpected, of everything you think you're going to do, that you're going to control, your idea of what's going to happen, will get thwarted. What we have to do is we have to embrace the unexpected. Now, what has happened on our world that is unexpected? Right, so go and watch that episode if you have not done so. We've reached the center point of the year. The second half of the year is going to have a whole different focus, and we're going to cover it week after week, month after month, as we maximize the second part of the year, as we try to master the situation that we're in, because we can't control it. We can master our relationship to it. That is the task. And in every challenge and in every obstacle that comes our way, there is always an opportunity to move forward. And the I Ching, its gift to me, and maybe it's to you as well, is that no matter what comes our way, it is what it is, and there's an opportunity to grow into the change despite it. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I highly encourage that if you've not yet done so, please subscribe to the channel. This really helps me to keep on creating content for you and to keep on coming with new ways to bring I Ching information to you. So I really appreciate that. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you know when the video comes out, and of course like and share. If there's something meaningful in what you've heard today, share that with someone who needs it. Good luck for the week. Be open to the unexpected, have an openness of the heart, and just let the unexpected magic that can come into your life do so. See you soon.